How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Beyond the Arc podcast. First time doing a podcast in a while with myself, Sam, and the man who load manages more than Kawhi Leonard these days. Sully is back again.
Yes, I'm back. I'm back. Every time I'm here, we're announcing that I'm back. So it's kind of like you. I think you just got the nail right. It's Kawhi, but I mean, if there was like a better version in a more um analogy type of way, then I'm like that. But obviously better
I feel
because
like I feel like every single time I want to do a podcast episode, it's always announcing that you're back. I feel like you're like a hot commodity.
guys is back. He's back. Nah, it's good to be
I was
back.
doing some research on the channel.
Yeah,
We're in March. We're in the middle of March,
yes.
and you have only done one video with me this year.
It's consistency. No, it's not consistency.
It's very much
Well,
inconsistent.
well, technically. It depends which way you want to look at it, but it's quality, you know.
It is.
Like it's what I bring to the team when I'm on the team. So I might only be on the team 5 times a year, but if it's a solid day, that's all
Well,
it
it's
works.
like Christmas. Whenever Sully comes on, it's like Christmas Day. Everything that's good happens. But leave a like if you want to see more Sully, because I want to see more Sully, because it's a lot less stressful for me to do them with Sully. So leave a like for more Sully. Yeah, the last 11 videos that are on the channel, you're in one of them. So
Yeah,
it's
it's like LeBron. LeBron, he doesn't. I think the last time he played for LA was like January. You
yeah,
know.
true. He's not. His team's gotten semi decent. Now he's taking the time off
Mm,
because he doesn't have to be
yeah.
there every single time. So I guess. But I guess we'll talk a little bit about that. Essentially today we ain't got much on the table. There is around about a month left. Before the playoff starts. I think it's a month on Wednesday. The playoffs start. And I talked a lot last week about the whole West run-in, so I'm not going to talk about that again because I don't want to. Um, Today, we're just going to be talking a little bit more about how the culture of playoff/championship contenders and pretenders all comes about. We're going to look at everyone's kind of like odds, not odds, but
Yeah,
their like likelihood, in our opinion,
yeah.
that that they're gonna win the championship or do well in the playoffs. Kind of like just like a mini predictions thing before the end of the season, I guess. End of the season comes, we got to review our predictions of the actual conference
Oh
standings,
damn, yeah, we do.
which will
I
be
don't know how
interesting.
good it's looking for me.
Well,
Um
I know that I predicted Denver to finish first, and
I
that
know
looks like it's going to happen. So
it is, and that was a crazy one at the time. I remember when you said that, I was like, What is this guy on?" And for the first like 2 months, it looked like, "What were you on?" But they flipped it for you. Like they watched the video. I think because you know what, obviously, like I know a couple of people in Denver, so I've heard like through like outside sources that Jokic does actually watch the podcast from time to time, and he actually heard that. Like heard you say that and then was like, "Yo, I'm gonna need to turn up for my
gonna
boy
win
now
my
because
third
he's
MVP, and
yeah,
well,
like he's
I also heard that Jokic hasn't been watching it that much because you haven't been on. So
ah damn. Well, at least we know he'll watch this and he'll see us appreciating him.
of course, of course. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about like the who like the odds that we think that a team's going to do well in the playoffs. I guess we'll also kind of look at who we think is going to win like MVP in that towards the end of the season. So interesting one, but obviously make sure you're leaving a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. This episode will probably go out on like Spotify and that. So if you've been sat scrolling through Spotify for the last 2 months, being like, "Where is my next Beyond the Arc podcast episode?" Then
It's here.
then I guess share it around. Every single episode I do with Sully usually ends up on like Spotify and that because they go over around about 40 minutes. So we have a lot to talk about. Like I said, not much to talk about today, but we do have extra topics in case we need to fill time, I guess. Um, but pretenders and contenders, I never really understand like the whole pretenders and contenders thing to an extent because I feel like for most teams, if they've done well in the playoffs in the regular
Yeah.
season, surely some of that has to translate to the playoffs. But we've seen through the likes of the Phoenix Suns, the Memphis
Mm.
Grizzlies, the Philadelphia 76ers, very good regular season teams that have kind of
Yeah.
not been able to transform that or translate that into the playoffs. Obviously, Phoenix ended up getting to the finals, but a lot of people are saying that, they were helped with injuries and stuff. And then the season after, they were kind of found out a little bit. Memphis is a young team. Philly, it's just funny watching Philly in the playoffs sometimes. So what do we think about? I think Denver is probably the main talking point of this whole pretenders/contenders kind of thing. When
Yeah.
people talk about, are the Denver Nuggets are the Denver Nuggets a team that can make a splash
Playoff
in the playoffs?
contenders. Yeah.
What do you think?
I want to obviously if we look at previous history, last few years especially, it's hard to say. Yeah, although I mean they made the conference finals in the bubble that year and stuff, but if we're talking right now, it's hard to say that they're not. I feel like they will have a good run. I'm not convinced that they'll make the league finals simply because whoever they face in the finals, I feel like will just have a better experience of getting to a finals and winning a conference finals, whoever they play, whether it's Phoenix now with KD or like if the Warriors make it, whoever they play, I feel like it'll just translate and be easier for them because they've been there before, they've done it before. Whereas obviously they've never been there. They were there once in the bubble year, which a lot of people don't even talk about or even count essentially, which obviously is for their own reasons. I think Jokic will obviously try his best to prove because obviously the only thing that people have against him is he can't do it in the playoffs, which to an extent isn't incorrect. But I mean the way the guy's been performing this year, I mean like you said, is looking like he could have his third MVP in a row, which I don't even think we've ever seen that in our lifetime. I don't remember the last time anyone had a three in a row MVP. It's probably back to Bill
Probably.
Russell or something.
No, so if I was to guess, it'd probably be Bill Russell.
Yeah, something crazy like that. I mean, even MJ wasn't winning triple back-to-back MVPs. And so it's crazy, obviously, to say that guy is obviously playing the way he's playing. He's the most valuable player in his team by a mile. But
Larry Bird was the last person to do it, but Bill Russell also
wow,
has, and
wow,
Will
Larry
Chamberlain.
Bird. I mean that we're talking in the 80s there.
Yeah,
So he's breaking a 40-year record.
I feel like there's been players that could have won 3 straight MVPs. There's just a lot of voter fatigue and a lot of demand to
Mm,
see the same people to see different people win it. I think a lot of people wanted to see Embiid win it last year, and
hmm
I wouldn't be mad if Embiid did win it. I think this year though, if Jokic averages a triple double, I think he has to be MVP. In my opinion, I feel like
It's impossible to not give it to a guy who's literally averaging a triple double. Some players only get three or four triple doubles in the whole season. This guy's literally doing it every single game.
Mhm.
And that is mental. That's literally mental. The other day we saw Giannis rebound a ball himself right at the end of the game just so he could get a triple double. This is what he's
Do
having
you
to.
know they redacted it? They
No
took it away
way.
from him. Yeah,
Oh, that's lame. Because I mean, if we're talking facts, it was a rebound, but. Oh, that was lame, man. Come on, it's Giannis. You can't be doing that to Giannis, man.
yeah.
But
But yeah, I saw a stat that said no player has managed to get two 30-point, 20 rebound, 10 assist games in the last 40 seasons, and Jokic has
wow,
done it twice this season.
wow, that's crazy. That is actually crazy. But
I think that was the stat. I'm not too sure.
and he does it like it's normal. He's already entered. He's already had 100 triple doubles, and that's mainly off this season.
Mhm.
And he's I think the top half of the top 10 for triple doubles made. If he keeps on playing like this, he'll be number one by this time next season. But like you said, voters fatigue. People will get bored of it. But this year, I think no matter what, whether people are bored of voting for him or not, he has to win it. If he ends up, which I mean, it's looking, I doubt he's gonna just in the next month tank and just drop stinkers all month. But I think it's looking like it's going to be a three-time in a row MVP for the Joker, which, I mean, even saying it sounds mental, to be honest, but like,
It is absolutely mental, I think.
mm,
I think we strayed away from the whole are Denver a proper contender. I think the main thing that surrounds Denver is how Jamal Murray is going to play in the playoffs. Now, the
yeah,
last time we saw Jamal Murray before this season was that bubble playoffs where he was dropping 50 pieces,
yeah,
shooting crazy efficiency, carrying his team at times. You know, like Jokic wasn't the star man of that bubble playoff run.
mm,
It was
it was
Jamal Murray.
Jamal. Yeah,
So now, I think Jamal Murray is one of the most underrated players in the NBA. I think he's come back and he's still performing at a decent level, which I think is going under the radar a lot. You know, I feel like when you're on a team with someone like Jokic, and obviously when Jamal Murray was doing bits in the bubble, Jokic wasn't the massive star that he is now. Obviously,
yeah,
so I feel like
100%.
whilst he's been gone, Jokic has kind of cultivated it to be his team. But I think when Jamal Murray comes back, well, when Jamal Murray has come back, he's still performed as a decent second option.
Yeah,
And I think when it comes to the playoffs, from obviously the small, very small sample size that we've got, he's one of the better playoff performers in the NBA if you go off
yeah,
of the 2020 playoffs. So it's if he can replicate that ultimately when it comes into this one. There isn't going to be no easy playoff series in the West is probably
100%.
the best way to describe it as well. So I think if any one seed is going to get upset in NBA history, it's going to be this season because you look at who's in and around the play-in, you could potentially be looking at them playing the likes of Dallas
Mm,
or Minnesota or the
mm.
Lakers in the first round. You know, teams that can maybe turn it up a notch when it comes to the playoffs.
100%, 100%. I think you're right with that one. Like you said, with the West, is I don't think there's an easy game. Like how last year when Chicago um got drawn in against the Bucks, that was probably like the one game you didn't want. But there's certain get like for round ones, like especially in the East, where some certain teams would be like, you know what, that's the team we'd like out of all the teams. Off the top of my head, probably a lot of people would want the Nets for the first round because, like, you know, it's not the Nets of 2 months ago. It's a whole different team now. But with the West, you can't really say that. Every team looks like they could have a good run. I mean, aside the only team now, I guess you could say, I'm sure a lot of people would want the Grizzlies, considering you know their star man isn't playing at the moment. Um, but other than that, like you said, there could be an upset for anyone against anyone. It could really happen. And one thing we always talk about playoff performances is completely different to regular season performances. We've seen teams like, you know, last year the Phoenix Suns were the best team in the NBA record wise, and in the playoffs they just were not that at all. It was a completely different Phoenix Suns we saw. And obviously, when I go to the Utah Jazz over the last few years, aside from this year, they were number one seed almost every single year. And when it came to the playoffs, first round, second round, they were gone. Like, so it's almost about if the big players, like you said, like Jamal Murray, will he be able to turn up? I think, like you said, that is the big question for for them. And obviously, Jokic will need a number two guy, especially if he wants to prove the haters wrong, if he wants to prove the doubters wrong. Me included, I doubt them for the playoffs. I don't think they'll. Well, I think if he's performing well, I think they can make a conference finals run. But obviously, that all depends on his number two guy. Whether he does it or not, who knows? But like you said, anyone could upset them at the same time.
We'll keep in with the West then as we carry on talking about I guess championship contenders. The Phoenix Suns you mentioned there, obviously on paper now, when fully fit, are the bookies' favourite and are, you know, good credit for it. However, Kevin Durant's injury the other week might potentially keep him out for the first week of the playoffs.
I think if they can survive that first week, they can win the chip.
But that's the thing. That's the question.
Yeah.
Does does a team of Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton plus TJ Warren, they don't have the likes of Jay Crowder, Cam Johnson anymore.
Yeah.
Does that core without KD like do enough to get past? Well, I'm looking now. The Clippers is who they'd be playing, or the Warriors.
I think if they're playing the Clippers, absolutely they'll be able to win. Warriors, I doubt it. I mean, they've got a fully fit team. I don't see any of their players getting big injuries over the next month. Obviously, Steve Kerr, he's been here too many times. He knows how to protect his players towards the business end of the regular season to get them ready for the playoffs. And I mean, if that Phoenix team comes up against the Warriors first round, they're going home.
Do
KD
we
will
think?
have.
Do we think that the Warriors are going to be able to do enough to win away from home though in the playoffs?
I think obviously their away record this season has been appalling, but playoff Warriors is a different team. Every time we
Yeah,
see the Warriors in the playoffs, they make it to the finals. Like,
yeah, true.
ev-
That's what we said last year. They didn't do amazingly in the regular season, still finished third, but
yeah.
everyone kind of put them down as a team that can win the chip. And I feel like even if they finish like fifth this season, that's still a team
All you
that
have to do really is make the playoffs. Once you're in the playoffs, then all that regular season stuff goes out the window. Nobody cares about it anymore because you're all in the same boat. You're all in the same position. And you're all fighting for one thing. And
Mhm.
like I said, that Warriors team, all of them were literally there a year ago. They all know what it's like. They all know the feeling. They've got winners, serial winners in that team as well. Steve Kerr, who's won with that team s- since he's been there. All he's done is win with them. Steph Curry, Clay, Draymond, these three guys have been winning with that team for years. If they was to then just make the playoff, that's all they need to do really. And it doesn't matter who they come up against. You take them on favorites because it's the playoffs. It's their thing. And I mean, we saw them against the Bucks the other night. That was crazy. Like that's a winner's mentality team right there, doing what they do best when they need to, coming up, clutching wins in the business end of the game. And I mean, if you're Phoenix and you don't have KD and that's what you're coming up against first week, you're going to be scared. And even then, they would need KD to try and beat that team. I think KD would be obviously a big help, but would he be enough? Obviously, he's one of the best, if not the best players in the league. But
For real.
our
So
scorers,
you think if fully fit Warriors, fully fit Suns, 7 game series,
I think it's going to like 6 or 7.
and you're saying
I,
that the Warriors are winning?
I don't know who'd win, but I think it definitely goes 6 or 7. I think it'd be like one of the best, um, like rounds of the whole playoff. I think that if that happens, both teams fully fit. We're watching the best series of the playoff, no matter what.
For
I
real.
mean,
What
KD
I
against his
think,
old team with
true.
a strong team. Obviously, former, um, the former champs, and obviously a team that if they're in the playoffs, a lot of people are expecting them to go back to back. Obviously, you've got Steph as well, I mean, he's Steph. You've got his old teammates as well who know KD. On the flip side, he knows his old teammates. He knows his old coach. Like I feel like that would just be an amazing series if he's fully fit. If not, they might as well book the plane home to Phoenix early because they ain't winning that series if KD's not there. They
Now,
don't have a chance.
I personally feel like if the Suns ended up matching up against the Mavericks, that'd be a way more entertaining series. Probably one of the most entertaining series you're ever going to see. And we'll move on to Dallas now, I guess, as the next team.
Yeah.
Um, Dallas at the moment are eighth in the no, they're eighth at the moment, 34-34 record. Only a game ahead of the Lakers in 11th. And I said I wasn't going to talk about that much, but I guess I want to get your opinion on it. What
Mm.
do you think about how close like this like little 5th to 13th kind of
Hmm.
thing is? I mean, the Blazers have kind of fallen off about from it a little bit. They're 2 games back from 10th. But do we think that the Mavericks are even a playoff contender or a playoff pretender?
We can't. I mean, with when you've got one of the newer duos of the league, but also one of the scarier duos of the league in a team, it's hard to call them pretenders. I mean, Luka made the conference finals last year. Kyrie's won the chip before, and I mean, I'm loving the way this new duo works. I think they are crazy together. The chemistry almost off the bat was unreal. Like the way they've been playing with each other. I love. I mean, I always like seeing new things in the league. Obviously, it's nice to see teams changing things up, different players going to different teams, and this is one of them ones I'm loving the sight of Kyrie and Luka together. It's crazy, and I think, I mean, obviously Kyrie joined them quite late, so it was kind of like saving a sinking ship kind of thing. Because I mean, as much as Dallas is a great team and Luka is one of, if not the best, like up and comers of the league in terms of being the young players that are taking over. Obviously their team wasn't in the best of positions in the league.
Well, I mean, you could argue and say that Kyrie's come in and the team's almost not gone better. They've kind of just been a bit mediocre.
I wouldn't say so. Obviously, I mean, because I mean, you look at what Kyrie and Luka have been doing for that team. They're almost like together, they'll be dropping 70, 80 points just themselves almost every single game.
But
And
the team's still losing games though.
I mean, the team has five players, not two. So the rest of the, and we've always said this, Luka needs the help. We've always been saying it. And he's got, obviously, now he's got Kyrie. So you'd like to think if they were to make the playoff, I think them two would do more than enough to get. I mean, Luka did enough just on his own to make, the conference finals. I think with the likes of Kyrie, he'll definitely be able to make it. And to be honest, despite the fact that obviously they played then went on to be the champs, they gave him a very good run, an amazing run. In fact, like it got to a point where we thought, can the Mavs actually do this against the Warriors? And they got unlucky, you could say. They got really unlucky. Like obviously it was one guy against five, essentially. I hate to diss the Mavs like that, but you know, it essentially it was Luka and Luka's friends against the Warriors. That's what it was. It was it was Luka and friends against the Warriors. But now it'll be Luka and Kyrie and friends against whoever. And
Yeah.
I think that is more. I think that's enough. But like you said, will they make the playoffs? I feel like they'll edge it. They'll squeeze it there. Or
Playoffs through the top six seeds or through the play-in.
I was gonna say, um, to be honest, I don't think they'd really care. I feel like just getting there it's not about how you get there. It's the fact that you got there, and I'm sure they'd much like to get there just in the playoff rather than having the extra game, which obviously I know it's just a game, but it all it
Can be two.
yeah can be two, and also like you said, there'll be times where the best of teams will get beat by any team. It can happen. It's just a game. It's not defined by a whole series. Like literally anything can happen in the one game. Like so, I'm sure they would like to avoid that. If they will or not, I'm gonna say they'll make it through the play-in. I don't think they'll do enough to get the top six.
Okay. Well, I mean, a playing spot might look a little bit advantageous maybe for the team who ends up getting seventh, because at the moment that puts you against Sacramento. And let's talk about some of these young teams now.
Yeah.
Sacramento, no one expected this to happen for them.
No, we were violating them at in the reviews. I know that one's gonna bite us real bad.
Do we think that this ungodly run is gonna hold?
Man, I don't know because we've never seen this team before, like ever. This is
You're
a
not
new.
even wrong. You're not even wrong. 2004, we were one. Not even.
You know
We
what?
weren't
To
even
be
a
honest,
year old.
I do remember the Kings of 2004. Now that you bring it up, like they were different, man. Watching them guys, I was like, wow, this is gonna be a team for the ages. No, I mean, like you said, we have literally never seen this before from this team, from this franchise. We've never seen it. So it's one of them unpredictable ones you genuinely don't know because it's not like we can say, oh well, a few years ago they were like this, and then in this playoff, like they've never been there ever. All of these guys, they might just be so happy to be there. They might just go like
Look, the playing was created in part to allow Sacramento to have a bit of a chance at playing some postseason basketball, and
and
they've gone.
and
No,
that, it was
screw the
created.
playing. We're
It
gonna
was
finish second.
it was created for the teams of like Sacramento and Utah and all these guys. And so far, all I've seen in the plane is like LA, Brooklyn. the Warriors. Why is it the teams that have been winning championships or teams that are supposed to win championships are in the play? Like, what's going on? This is not how it's
Yeah,
supposed to work.
Miami, Atlanta.
Miami, bro, it doesn't make sense. Like last year, we literally saw Brooklyn in the play-in. Who else was in the play-in? Was Lakers? Lakers, I think, was in it. Like
Yeah, a couple of
New
years ago.
Orleans,
Yeah, the
like slipped
Lakers.
into
The first ever playing matchup was the Lakers versus the
Lakers
Warriors.
and the Warriors, and it was a sick game as well. Like,
So anyway,
it's,
Sacramento. What's your thoughts?
I think because like it's all the players' first time ever been in that position is with that team. I think they're just gonna go on a mad crazy run and just gonna do the maddest. Like like last year, the New Orleans just did the most in the playoffs, and we were like, "Whoa, like, where's this team come from?" I think it's gonna be like that. Like I think they're gonna shock everyone and just do the most, and it's gonna go crazy. And like, I don't think they'll make it past the second round, to be honest. But like, I think even still, second round for them, that's like winning a chip. The city of Sacramento is gonna have a parade for making it to the playoffs. And if they can make, I would say this right now, if they can make conference finals, I will, I will, I would buy you the next season Chicago jersey, the next one that comes.
Real?
Any player, anything. If
I
they
mean,
make
I'm rooting for Sacramento anyway because I just like the underdog factor and because I don't think that my team's going to be playing any playoff basketball this year. So
now
I
you got extra incentive
any more
because
incentive is
because
always good.
all I mean it's just a crazy thing. I mean, and like it's gonna be sick to see. Like like I mentioned 10 minutes ago, I love seeing change in this game. Like, and this is obviously a massive change. It's a team we've literally never watched in the playoffs before. It's crazy. Players we've never seen. It's gonna be cool to see. Imagine they get sweep, so that would be like actually, I can't even say it'd be embarrassing because for them, like I said, just them getting there is a successful season. Whatever they do, they get swept in the most embarrassing way possible. They won't care. I wouldn't care if I was them. I'd be like, yo, we just broke like a 18-year wait. Like,
Yeah, true. I guess that's kind of what I was feeling last year when the Bulls were in the playoffs because
yeah, it
since I
was
started
10 years or
support, since
something.
not 10 years, but since I started supporting them, they made it in 15-16 with the
Oh yeah.
with like the Dwayne Wade Bulls,
Mm,
and then like we weren't good up until last season, so it was nice to see. So
mm.
I guess but I feel like surely they will have a lot less to lose. Like if Dallas end up finishing seventh, they will have so much pressure on them. They've pretty much just gambled their whole franchise, giving away a load of their future for a Kyrie deal that may not even last after this season because he's out of contract at the end of the season. Like Dallas are gonna have so much more pressure on them that maybe like having Sacramento there as a team that yes comes into it as the second seed, so you think that they have a little bit more pressure on them to perform
But
and to live up to the
really,
fact that they were a second
yeah,
seed. But really, any win in the playoffs is probably a success for them.
yeah. That's what they're looking for. They're not looking to get past the first round. They're looking to just win one. If their record says 5-1, they're like, yo, we did that. We did that. That's what they're feeling, which I can't even hate on it because, like I keep saying, it's 18 years since they've been there. Like, I would be that exact same position.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah,
think you're
definitely.
right, to be honest. Like, obviously, with the Kyrie situation, the franchise they gave up a lot for him. But I think he will he will want to stay no matter
Okay.
what. Because I mean, if you're in a duo with a, I say potential, a definite future MVP, like no doubt about it, you want to be there. Like you 100% you want to be there. Like it's it's almost like how when LeBron and Kyrie were like that duo, but now Kyrie is LeBron and Luca is Kyrie in the sense of like Kyrie is gonna mold him. Like he's gonna, because even though Luca is obviously one of in his generation of players, one of the best, if not the best, like he's learning from one of the best point guards the game's ever seen. Like there's always gonna be something to learn, and I think Kyrie's gonna want to that would be him leaving his mark essentially. Like once he's gone from the game, like we'll be watching Luca and being like, "Yo, this like that reminds me of Kyrie," kind of thing. Just like the same way a lot of people will watch or watched Kobe and said, "Yo, this guy is like." emulating MJ kind of thing. Do you get me? Like, I think this is Kyrie's way of leaving his stamp because I don't think Kyrie's actually got that many years left. Feel like he'll be gone in 4 years max. I think like whatever he'll get too old or he won't be able to keep up with the game, which is understandable. It happens, especially for guards. The game ends a lot quicker. Um, and I think that's where he ends his career in Dallas.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I think he could be out of the league in a couple of years because of the stuff he keeps saying.
Yeah,
That
that's
the
true. He'll
system
probably end
and
up like cussing Adam Silver's family out in the next podcast or something, and then get like
yeah.
banned again. But
Well, okay, so Sacramento we like.
we
Don't
do.
think they're gonna do too great. How about Memphis? We'll stick around with the West. We're nearing the end. We'll talk a little bit more about the younger teams. Memphis are still a young team, but I've had playoff experience before.
Yeah, but I mean, and don't get me wrong, Memphis without Ja aren't a bad team, but for some reason these guys just seem like clowns, man. I don't know what it is about this Memphis team.
I think Memphis. I think, and I don't want to say this because I respect Memphis. Like I like the players that they have on the team. I think it's nice that a young team's like doing so well in the regular season and causing splashes in the playoffs. But I think they are literally the most unlikable team in the NBA at the moment.
No, they are, and the worst part is they think they're like the guys. And I love when Draymond Green talks about Memphis because although not a lot of
It's
people like
entertaining.
Draymond Green, he gets it nail on the head every time. He's like these guys are talking like there's some five-time championship winning teams. Like they've never even made the conference finals, and they're talking like one of them. I think Dylan Brooks said like his team's a dynasty. Like no, bro, you no, no, really no. And then what did Draymond say? He goes, "The team's a dynasty once you leave. That's when the dynasty begins." And I mean, to be honest, that he makes that team even more likable. Who actually likes Dylan
I
Brooks?
I actually think I actually think Dylan Brooks is on Grayson Allen level of
Yeah,
annoyance in the NBA.
piggybacking on a good team as well. Just like leave. No,
I mean, I don't.
guaranteed.
I think Dylan Brooks is a way better basketball player than Grayson Allen is, but
I
I
just
just think
don't
he's
like. I don't even think he's that good. I don't think he's a good player. Like he's okay, but I don't. I mean, I just he's like as he's probably just happy to be in that team. Like he probably causes the same amount of effect as if like anyone was on like just a role player, but he talks like he's the number one guy on that team. If you ask me, like I and like you said, their team is just so unlikable. Like I don't know what it is about them, but if they even want a chance of like attracting good players and like having deep player fronts, they need to one focus on the basketball, not like the talking and the dances before the games, and like focus on the basketball, and they might actually then cause problems in the playoffs. Like I mean, Ja Morant, obviously, a lot of people have been talking about him over the last few weeks. That guy's lost it, man. I don't know what he thinks like is going on. I don't know. In his mind, he's like the LeBron of the league. Um,
he's on his Mason Greenwood arc, and I feel like that's a weird comparison to make, but just in the fact that it's
it's
like
it's even a weird,
he's a young
yeah.
kid who's been told he is going to be one of the best in the world in a
And
few years.
he's being told like to you need to watch your every move. And he's like, I'm gonna make sure everybody else watches all my moves. And then he jumps on Instagram Live and does all the craziness. And it's almost like he's not thinking about anything.
Yeah,
And
he's not taking any of it seriously, and it's
and I
like,
saw something today. It was actually this morning when I woke up. It was like some guy was talking about the whole thing with Ja Morant, and he was like, if you give someone of his age, what is he in his early 20s, like 22 or something? If you give a 22-year-old over $100 million a year, they're gonna be out here doing crazy stuff because what he was 18 4 years ago. That mindset doesn't leave you. So
no, of course
it's
not.
understandable. Like the league has made him one of the most like looked at people. Like before the whole Instagram thing, he was what was it, Powerade or something? Powerade made him the number one guy. He just got his new line of
I
basketball
think they've
shoes.
taken his gate. I think they've taken
Yeah,
his
they've
Gatorade
taken it off
sponsorship
now.
away from Ellie. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and then like obviously then he was had his new his basketball shoe line was coming out. Like he was. all this was happening. You could say it's really early. Like for example, if you're a player, he's only been in the league a few years. He won the Rookie of the Year not that long ago. Like it, it was only a few seasons ago that that happened. Like, and obviously when you're that young and all of that happens, it can get to you. And clearly, it's getting or has already got to him. What the league will do now, whether they'll actually let him back this year or at all, who even knows?
Well, I
Like
mean,
genuinely,
they didn't find any grounds to arrest him for the possession of a gun, did they?
I don't think so yet. But I mean, I think because the NBA investigation, I don't know if there's actually like a state investigation going on. I'm not seeing anything about that. But like whether that, I doubt he'd get arrested. But again,
I think
technically,
they'll let. I think the NBA will let him play again. It's just if Memphis will let him
yeah,
play, and
yeah,
I
the
think
actual
Memphis will,
state. I mean, I don't think he'll be this year though.
for real. I think it'll be kind of like a Ime Udoka situation. You know, like,
Well, yeah. To be fair, that guy's been forgotten about anyways. Like,
well, yeah, Joe Mazzulla's come in and been as good as, if not better.
if not better, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
Boston are the best team in the NBA. Like,
for real, that's a bold statement.
I mean, like if we're like talking like actual like record and stuff.
I
Like,
think Milwaukee have a better one at the moment.
you think so? I thought
Yeah.
Boston was the first seed.
No, I think Milwaukee are just above them at the moment because Milwaukee went on that mad run,
Okay,
didn't they? Yeah.
okay, fair enough. Um, well, yeah, you're right, and it's only by a little bit. But even then, I think Boston are one of the obviously like everyone's. We said it like at the end of last year. Can they go on a back-to-back run to the finals? You're looking like they could. But obviously that you got to big up the coach there. He filled in big shoes. He filled
Yeah.
in some really big shoes.
Well, I guess we'll move to the East, given that we're talking a little bit
Yeah.
about Boston now. Championship contenders or championship pretenders? Obviously, we're in the finals last year, have kind of dabbled within the conference finals aspect for the past 5 years or so without actually winning a championship.
Mm.
What's your opinions on Boston going into the postseason?
I think conference finals is a must for them. I think they have to make it. I think they will. I think the only team standing in their way really is Milwaukee and New York. No, I'm just playing. Um, but
I think
I
that's the
actually do
case. I
like.
think that's the case with the East, though. I feel like it's a
Yeah,
lot more straightforward in terms of like there's so many X's and O's in the West. In the case of like you've got Denver, but are they going to be able to do it in the playoffs? Same with Sacramento, same with Memphis. Golden State could still
100%.
carry it going. And to be fair, anywhere from Golden State down, you're looking at it as a case of we don't even know if
Or
they could
can they
actually be in
squeeze
the
in?
playoffs yet.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
100%,
they could drop into the play in. They could not even make the playoffs. You know, with the West, it's with the East. Sorry, it's a case of right.
You know who's gonna
Milwaukee are
be in
probably
it.
Milwaukee are probably going to finish first. Boston will finish
Mm,
second, and then it'll be between like Philly or Cleveland for third.
yeah,
And then even
100%.
then, when it comes to the actual playoffs, you're only really going to be looking at Milwaukee, Boston, and maybe Philly. And
Yeah,
I think Philly can be contenders.
yeah.
I
It's
think
just the
this
whole
is
like Philly choking in the playoffs thing. It's such a
yeah
common thing we've seen
yeah.
every year. That's their only problem. But this year, man, Philly have been lighting
I'm
up
telling you, this is the best James Harden since his MVP run, and he isn't even averaging crazy points. He's just one
100%.
of the
And I
best.
think this is the best. I think this is one of the best, if not the best, Embiid we've seen as well.
Mm-hmm. What even better than last
Because
season?
yeah, because last year he was like he was the light of the whole team. He was doing everything. Now he doesn't need to do everything, but
True.
when he does need to do something,
Well,
he's doing what.
he's still averaging in and around 30 points per game, and I guess when he did that last season, it was kind of mental to see. But this year,
Yeah,
everyone's averaging 30 points plus a
yeah,
game, so it's less impressive, but it's still
yeah,
impressive.
100%, 100%. To carry on a run like that, going into another year with James Harden as well, so like another scorer is crazy. But I think this is
Yeah.
the best Philly we've seen, and I think this is their best chance to go and give it a good run
hmm
because I mean, Embiid's fallen so many times to other teams in the playoffs. It's almost like how many more times can it happen before the player just breaks and can't do it anymore? And it's not even like to actually violate him. Like genuinely, how many times can a singular player stay at one team and just lose constantly? It's kind of like the whole Dame thing. Like obviously, back when even Portland were good, he would still
Yeah, yeah,
always
yeah.
lose to either Houston or the Warriors or whoever. Like he was constantly losing, and it was one of them things. You thought, when is he gonna give up and go somewhere else, or when are they gonna stop trying? And I mean, Dame, as we've seen, is just stopped trying, and he just got his bag, which is understandable.
Well, I mean,
Um,
the Blazers have still been in and around a playing sport. Like they started the season really well, and Tatum's still
yeah,
averaging mental numbers. It's just the rest of his team's a bit.
100%. I think no matter what happens, I know we say every year Dame has to go, but that's a story for another day.
I don't think
Um,
he will. I don't think he will. But equally, if Portland do end up finishing third bottom in the West, that's still probably the seventh best odds at Wemby
true. I mean,
if he
I
can
think
hope.
I think if he gets a Wemby, then he's staying. Because
I think
obviously,
if anyone gets a Wemby,
yeah,
the
yeah, bro. Whoever gets Wemby, I'm gonna try and make their team. I'm gonna be like, yo, draft me. Like, I don't care if I'm picked 2006.
this
Like,
isn't
I
the
don't care.
NFL. There ain't that
Round
many.
round 92. I don't care. Pick me. I want to be with Wemby. I want to pass him the ball. But nah, I mean, it would be obviously crazy to see that. But anyway, um,
We
I think
digress.
yeah, if Philly were to have a big shot, this is that year, and I
Yeah.
want to see it, man. Obviously, I'm not saying I want to see them win because I don't, but I would like to see MB not cry again.
No. Well, I mean, I think it's a bit funny. I don't really like Embiid as much as other people do, but we never like to see anyone cry on a basketball court over here at Beyond the
Yeah,
Arc. Uh,
it's
so
tough, man.
So yeah, Philly. To be fair, Philly were only 3 games back from the top seed, so anything could happen there. It'd be crazy to see
Mm.
Philly first in the first seed. That'd be really big for them. To avoid Milwaukee and Boston until the conference finals would be massive. So let's talk a little bit about the Knicks, because obviously, as a guy who backs the Knicks, I'd like yourself. Do you believe the hype that's going on? Obviously, the best way to have an almost double-digit win streak is towards the end of the season. Never good to lose it to the Hornets, though. What's your opinions on the Knicks?
Yeah, that's true. I'm not gonna lie. It was gonna get burst at some point, but I thought like the, I mean, the run. I thought it was a great run. I mean, especially some of the teams that we played and some of the teams we beat. I thought the run was crazy. I mean, we're back to winning ways again. Last night would be LA, a strong LA. They've been playing well as well. I think, obviously, like I've been loving seeing the New York videos of like all the people in the street screaming like, "We're gonna win the chip!" Like we're not, but I think we'll have a decent playoff run. At least I
Mm-hmm.
think second round will make, no matter who
Really?
we play. I think, I mean, obviously, unless we get like, because what currently we're the sixth seed, which means we'll play Milwaukee. So,
No,
um,
6 seed, you get Philly at the moment.
is it okay? Well, you know what? I like our chances against Philly.
Uh-huh.
I think, I don't know. I think like I just think we'll have a decent run, and I think that's what us fans want. We just want a good run. We don't want a a battering in the first round.
Yeah, obviously,
We
yeah,
just
last
want
time
a
out.
decent, even if it's just a 7 game series in the first round, and we just end up losing to a 7 game series. That's not. I don't even think that will upset us because that'll be enough. Like that'll be like, you know what, yo, they did it. They had a good year, and they had like, okay, it was only one round, but at least they really gave it. Especially
Mhm.
if it's against a good team. Like if we play Philly or let's say we finish fifth seed, and then who will that be? Um,
Cleveland, which is an interesting
Cleveland.
one.
Oh damn, not that guy. Not that guy.
The D Mitch Derby.
Not that guy. No.
I mean,
I mean,
in
that
an
would
ideal
be
world, you're hoping that you both somehow overtake Cleveland and then you get Brooklyn in the first round, which, for geographical purposes, is
that would be
interesting
the yeah, that would be amazing. That would be
and
amazing.
it's also probably better for you guys because
I
probably
mean,
easier
yeah.
to beat Brooklyn.
But you know what? This Nets team, this might sound stupid, but they look better than they did
It's
before.
it's more of a team now, and obviously that's what happens when you get rid of Kyrie Irving, I guess, from your team. But yeah, Mikal Bridges is one of those uncovered
Man,
gems.
I hate to say this because he's a Brooklyn Nets player, but I love that guy.
Yeah, like he
I
one of the many people like your Larry Markkanens. Usually these come in freeze, but I can only really think of Larry at the moment. People that bit part players on teams that then
mm,
get moved to a place where they can be the number one option and show that they're
mm.
legendary. Jeremy Grant on the Pistons probably a good option as well. Um,
D'Angelo
yeah,
back at
D'Angelo's
LA is, I mean, everybody forgot about that guy. Everyone thought he was gone, and I mean, he looks far from it. Like I mean, right now, what he's basically number two to AD. You could
Mhm,
argue number three, wherever
mhm.
he is, he's playing. I think he's shooting the best percentage of his entire career, which is unreal. Like to think that what he's been in the league for 10 something years, maybe just a bit under, wherever it is, the guys. I mean, that's again another one of the players. That's crazy. Um, like Mikal Bridges, man. I mean, he's come to the Nets, and like you said, they're a team now. And obviously, yeah, they had KD and Kyrie, but they weren't really a team. And at the beginning, when they both left, and it looked like, oh my God, Ben Simmons is there, like what the hell? But I actually think that's gonna work out
But
really good because they've got
Ben Simmons is being dashed to the curb at the moment. He needs to start working. This guy has more personal fouls than he does field goals made this season. Does Ben Simmons? He needs to
that's
sort it out.
crazy. He does because I think when he's actually like not playing bad defensively, any team will be happy to have him.
Mm.
And I think especially a team like them, young guys who all are enjoying scoring the ball right now, if they had him with like actually defending well, they'd be a great team. And in maybe a year or two, actually like decent, like a decent team that could probably get 2 rounds in the playoffs. And even this team, I can see him having a good first round in the playoffs. I don't think they'd make it past, but like I said, a 6 game or 7 game series, I can see them doing because you don't need amazing players to have an amazing team.
True.
And we've seen it before. Even the Nets of old, before the Kyrie and KD like trades happen, that Nets team, they were just a team. They you could tell they enjoyed playing basketball. They enjoyed being on that team. It's almost like that again, just with slightly different players. So I could see them having a decent-ish like playoff run. But for Knicks, I think I think we're playing really well, and I think especially now we're getting the most out of the players that we have. And I mean, if there was ever a time that I've ever thought we could have a great year, this is
Do you
that year.
feel Do you feel more comfortable this season than you did 2 seasons ago?
Yes.
Even though you were a higher seed a couple of years ago.
Yeah, because we're playing better basketball now. Even though we were higher seed then, we're playing better basketball now.
You could
And
arguably say your team's better as well with like Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett's got a few
yeah,
extra years on him.
I mean,
Julius
Jalen
Randle's kind of
Brunson,
having
yeah,
a back year as
Julius,
well.
yeah. And I mean, in an ideal world, if somehow Giannis and JT and JB all got injured and New York managed to get to the finals, that means the prodigy can finally be accomplished because D Rose is still on the roster,
He is.
and that's all I'm saying. It could happen. It can happen. And
Come on, Knicks.
you're telling me 98% of NBA fans would not be wanting the Knicks to win that chip if we were in the final. The only people that wouldn't be supporting the Knicks are Brooklyn fans and whoever the other team is in the final. And even then,
And do Brooklyn even have fans?
now they probably do. Like all the people who stopped supporting them when like KD in that game because they got bad and they were like, oh my God, what is the point of supporting this team? Like they've got good players, but they're dead. That actually supported the old team will probably come back like, yo, my team's back, which is understandable. But yeah, there's only like 4 people that actually like them anyways. Um, but yeah, I think I'm enjoying Knicks basketball, which I've not really said in a long time. Like for this year, I've been enjoying Knicks basketball, man. I mean, yeah, the Hornets was a tough loss, but it would have to come to end at some point.
Yeah,
But I'll be honest, I am believing the hype.
yeah,
To
fair enough.
answer your question in a very long roundabout way, I very much believe in the hype.
Fair enough, fair enough. And I respect you. I'd feel the same if it was me too. Um, well, I feel like there's a lot more playoff pretenders when it comes to the East than there is like championship
100%,
ones.
100%, 100%.
I guess we talked about the playing a bit in the West. We'll talk about a bit of the playing in the East before we wrap things up. It's looking like Miami are probably going to end. Like, there's 4.5 games separating New York and Miami. Only about 10 to 12 games left as well. So, yes, it's something that can be done. But New York are going to need to lose quite a few games, and everybody from 7th to 12th in the Eastern Conference are so unbelievably inconsistent that
Yeah,
you wouldn't really expect them to make 4.5
that's
games on you lot.
true. And a lot of them are good teams too. They've just been very inconsistent. I mean, you've got Atlanta down there, Miami. Uh, these are teams that you wouldn't normally be talking about them being that low, but they are.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I mean, when you look at the last 10, you look at
yeah.
you know, Philly are 7-3, New York are 7-3, and then a 5-5. So 500 ball on Cleveland and Brooklyn, which is fair enough. But then you look at
Yeah.
anyone down from 7th and below. The only team that are winning more games than they've lost in the last 10 are Indiana, and they're only 6-4. So many five and
Mm,
fives. Miami were 4-6. Washington 3-7. It's and Washington on a 3-game losing streak as well, so they're kind of throwing
mm,
away any glimmer of hope they had at the 10th seed,
mm.
passing it over to either Chicago or Indiana. Sorry, so it is a case of like if any of these teams whoever gets 7th and 8th are just going to get swept by Milwaukee and Boston. So what's the point?
True. But
Chicago
things
are
do
very good
happen.
at bringing up their game to teams at the top, I guess. You know, not only the Chicago Bulls could have an absolute masterclass against Denver, hold Jokic to the second time he's shot under 50% so far this season, and then need a 16-point fourth quarter swing to beat the Houston Rockets in the next game. Only the only the Chicago Bulls could do that. But
It's just been one of them years for
it's
you
been
guys,
so
isn't it?
annoying, so frustrating. But Patrick Beverly's come in, kind of steadied the ship
He's
slightly.
yeah. I was
Zach
just gonna
Levine's
say,
Zach Levine's putting up like MVP level numbers since the All Star break. Like he's averaging like 33, shooting good splits. Like he's been the guy that we paid a max deal to. He's actually showing up now,
mm,
which I guess towards the end of the season that's kind of what you need. But
I
equally,
think,
the
mm,
team's still the team's still concerningly average.
yeah, but I think it's something like you said, we've said in the past. It's not something to like panic about. I'm sorry. It's not something to panic about in the sense of like the core is still there. Obviously, a couple of players next year probably won't be there. I think Demar will probably. I don't think Demar will be in a Chicago jersey next year. But other than like you mentioned, it's just slipped my mind. The Pat Bev trade, I think that has been so under the radar really well. Like the guy's been playing good, and he actually you could tell he loves playing for Chicago. Like obviously, I think that was his hometown team, and but like the guy, every time I see like clips of Demar, not Demar, Pat Bev playing, like he's putting in that 10 out of 10 hustle, which to be fair, he did used to do.
And it's what the Bulls need. Like
Yeah.
I said the other week, just a bit of accountability was needed. We had a load of star players who were kind of almost like they were too big to play for the Chicago Bulls. Pat Bev's kind of come in as a person from the city,
Mm.
to kind of like ground people, tell them, this is who you're
100%.
playing for. This is
Yeah,
how you
and I think
play.
he will be a really big personality in the locker room too, because
He
like he's
always
not
is.
a vet per se, but especially like in like he's made the playoffs what 2, 3 times in a row now. Like I mean, he like you can see the game actually means so much to him as well. Like it really does.
I'm
And I
just saying,
mean,
if he celebrated for getting Minnesota into the playoffs through the play-in like he did last year. His head might actually explode if he plays any playoff basketball with the Bulls.
Yeah, but you can tell he really wants it, and I think, like you said, I think that's what you guys needed, and I think honestly that trade has gone so under the radar for how well it's been going in terms of like you said, yeah, they've not been amazing, but they're playing better, and it might and really right now that's all you only need that little boost to get you to the playoffs because once you're there, even if it's only a round, even if it's just the two playing games, excuse me. Yeah, even if it's just those two playing games or like a playing and then getting into the first round, whatever it is, it'll be more than you probably expected a month ago or 2 months ago. So, and I mean, the city of Chicago will love to be in the playoffs, whether it is just a round or two. You will
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
And like I said a couple of months ago, if I said you're going to get playoff basketball, you would have cried. So, like,
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think for just sustainability of the franchise, I think I'd rather try and get Wemby. Try and
yeah, I feel like,
try and get below
mm,
Orlando in terms of record, and then have the fifth worst record in the NBA.
mm,
I'd take those odds, but it's not looking like it's gonna
mm,
happen. It looks like they're actually pushing on to try and play some playoff basketball. Which, like I said, even if we do somehow get seventh or eighth seed, you're getting bounced
mm,
by the Boston or Milwaukee in 4, maybe 5 games if you're lucky.
yeah,
Um,
true.
but I guess one last thing because we're nearing on an hour now.
Yeah,
Toronto, Chicago, Indiana, and Washington, all separated by a game, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. It looks like Atlanta are going to be kind of safe in that 8th seed. You know, they're about 2 games ahead of Toronto at the moment. And I
yeah.
don't think Orlando are going to make a push, potentially. So out of those 4 teams, Toronto, Chicago, Indiana, and Washington, which two are making 9th and 10th, in your opinion?
Toronto and Chicago.
How it is now. And to be fair, I'm not really too mad about it. I think just them 2 teams have probably the more star power. I think if any
Yeah,
team's going to probably creep into that, it's going to be Indiana. Though I like Indiana a lot. I like Halliburton.
yeah,
He gamed us the other night. Um, I feel like they're on a 2-game win streak at the moment, and like I said, 6-4 in
yeah.
the last 10 games. They're in a decent bit of run. Decent bit of form. Sorry. I think
No,
Chicago are
they
going to
are.
finish ninth though, and I think Toronto will slip out.
I could see that happening too, to be honest, because Toronto this year have been probably the weakest Toronto team we've seen in a long time, and obviously it's more a case of the players that they do have are getting old. Aside from the odd couple of players here, Scotty Barnes hasn't been what he was last year. Um,
Only his second
and
year. Only his second year though.
Yeah, yeah, of course. It is only his second year, but obviously you like to see growth in players, especially players that, like obviously last year he was one of the best um rookies of the whole, like, of all the rookies that came through,
Well,
he was one of the best, top three, top two, maybe
one
you
rookie
could
of the year,
argue.
didn't he? So
Yeah, he was amazing. And the only reason you could say, obviously, you could argue the only reason Toronto didn't beat Philly in the playoffs last year is because of his injury. Um, I mean,
and the
it's
fact that
it.
they made it unbelievably hard for themselves by going 3-0 down.
Yeah, but I mean, if there was ever a team that could be three up and lose, it would have been them.
You
Like,
know,
let's be honest, the fact that they were three up and people were still not convinced that they were gonna go through, literally needed a win in 4 games, and still people were like, well, so, but yeah, that Toronto is nowhere near this current team's Toronto. So I can see that happening, them actually missing out, which maybe would be a good thing for them. Like, now it might sound stupid, but the last thing that team really needs is playoff basketball. There is
yeah,
no point a team.
I think a lot of what Toronto are doing. I'm not a Toronto fan, but from the outside, it looks like they're kind of still riding on the coattails of their championship win. Still, you know,
Yeah,
they're still running things through Siakam and Van Vliet. Van Vliet's really not up to it anymore. I
yeah,
still think, I mean, I respect his journey. You know, from being undrafted
yeah,
to being an all star. You know, getting the bag, fair enough. But he isn't what he was 3 seasons ago. three
Yeah.
seasons ago.
No, 100%.
Siakam, whilst he's good, I feel Toronto kind of expected him to be like a proper high level all star after Kawhi left, and he just hasn't. So I feel like maybe I think maybe I thought that them getting the 4th pick last season, well, season before, I guess. Well, I guess last season, not this season, 2 seasons ago, would have kind of given them like that reset. They're still holding on to a bit of deadwood that they kind of just need to replace.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And like I said, them playing playoff basketball is not going to matter. At the most, they'd probably get, even if they were to make it to that first round, like you said, they're getting bounced by Milwaukee or um, Boston. And that's just, I mean, it's not going to do anything for them at all. It's going to be pointless. Yeah, okay, the City are going to have a couple of games where the whole arena is going to be packed and it's going to be loud, but it's not going to matter. It's not going to ride them to a championship again. And it's kind of just, I think this is the summer where they need to, like you said, get rid of some deadwood and find something, maybe even, I don't know, a trade package for something else. Maybe bring in some more younger guys like we saw Brooklyn do with getting when they got rid of KD and Kyrie and just cleaned up shop. You could see Toronto doing something like that. I think they benefit from something like that highly. And you'd like to see it. Obviously, Toronto aren't really a hated team. They don't really have rivals in the league. I mean, everyone, like, obviously everyone says the city, Toronto is full of nice people and it's a nice team. And like obviously when they were in the finals, everyone was rooting for them. Which obviously made sense. Obviously, it was against the Warriors too, but um,
KD Warriors
like
as well.
yeah, yeah. Um, but obviously you'd like to say that if they were to fix up this summer, then they could change things up and have a good year coming because they still have the core there. Just like you said, they still got Scotty Barnes who'd be in his 3rd year next year, and it'll be good to see like Toronto kind of build themselves back up because they're not, like I said, they're not really a hated team.
Yeah, true. But I don't think they're going to make playing basketball this year, which, like you said, might be a good thing. Might be a good thing.
Mm,
But I think we've practically talked about everything. Like, we could talk about the Lakers, but I feel like we're going to talk about the Lakers so much more towards the end of the season when it gets towards crunch time. And we're just over an hour on this at the moment. So I think we're going to
mm.
wrap it up there. It's been good having you back, Sully. Let's hope it's not
It has
another
been. I'll
another
come back for the. I'll be back for the finals.
the finals.
I'll
Yeah.
be back in the NBA finals.
For Christ's sake. Well, like I say, it's getting into crunch time. Like I said last week, less than a month now until the NBA finishes because the playoffs start on the 15th. I don't know if that counts to playing. So it's probably less than a month until the regular season finishes. Every team's got about
Yeah,
10 games left. So every game's pretty much a must win around about there, unless you're like Detroit. Then it's probably a
yeah,
must lose. But thank you guys so much for listening. Again, let's hope that Sully isn't going to be gone for another 7 years. But if you want to see him, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, share out this podcast no matter what you're listening on. And any last words, Sully?
um, give me and Sam the Sky contract.
Signed a thing. We will see you guys in the next one. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.